She was very proud of her full figure. There was a scene, she was in a bubble bath, and they kept pumping up the bubbles from the side. And each time as the cameras would start to roll, she'd go.
She was blonde, she was beautiful, she was perhaps the ultimate product of Hollywood hype. Jayne Mansfield, the inside story for Thursday, February 2nd, 1989.
Hello again, everybody. I'm Mary Hart.
And I'm John Tesh. Jayne Mansfield never won an Oscar, but she held more titles than many who did. She was Queen of Refrigeration Week, Miss Third Platoon, Queen of the Chihuahua Show, Princess of the Freeways, Nylon Queen, and Miss Tomato. Jayne Mansfield was an actress who never got tired of the hype. Our inside story for today.
Little things mean a lot.
Don't let the song she's singing about little things fool you. Nothing in Jayne Mansfield's life was little. From her 40-inch bust line to the crowds of fans which followed her, to the headlines about her death. When she died in 1967 in a terrible car crash at age 34, Jayne Mansfield had become a symbol of the awakening American attitudes about sexuality. She had also become a victim of the excesses of the town which created her, Hollywood, USA. Like Marilyn Monroe, Mansfield died young, but where Marilyn had become a living tragedy, Mansfield remained until the end a party for the press.
There was one day we went out to make a tour of 4 different fish and poultry places that were opening around town, and she was scheduled to cut the ribbon at each one of the various stores. The only thing she didn't do when she was in front of the press was act real smart, but this woman was smart.
She was smart enough to land herself in some fairly high-rent company in her films, with Cary Grant in a film titled Kiss Them For Me, and with Tony Randall in Will Success Spoil Rock Hunter. Randall saw in Jayne a woman intent on exploiting her own talents.
She was very proud of her full figure. There was a scene, in those days, of course, they didn't show as much as they do now, and she was in a bubble bath, and they kept pumping up the bubbles from the side. And each time as the cameras would start to roll, she'd go.
Even Mansfield's marriage to muscle man Mickey Hargitay was a constant publicity show. But Jayne's fans didn't want her married. Hargitay found out the hard way at Bob Hope's USO shows.
He said to me, "Why don't you ever introduce me, you know?" So after she appeared, I said, "I want you to meet her husband, Mickey Hargitay." And he walked down, and he never heard a boo like that. Because everybody had a little dream about her, you know. And here's her husband. He never asked me again.
She walks by, the mean folks get enrolled. Can't help it, girl, can't help it.
The publicity machine named Mansfield cranked on even after the career had run off its tracks. Her prodigious profile was still good for a magazine cover, even after her films flopped. And when her marriage went sour, who was first to know? Not her husband.
I think the press called me and they said, "You know, your wife filed for a divorce." And I said, "No." Did she?
Another blow in the downward spiral, the death of Marilyn Monroe. It turned Mansfield's career into a cruel caricature of a dead woman.
When Marilyn died, it was very difficult for Jayne. She didn't want to keep playing the squeaky blonde roles anymore, and so she was having to resort to appearing nude in pictures. Like Promises, Promises was the first film to ever feature a well-known movie actress topless, and that was Jayne.
So the one-time happy wife and mother had descended into softcore pornography. In the last years, she kept company with her lawyer and lover, Sam Brody. Some say she had even gone for answers to the Church of Satan, a bizarre ritualistic cult, and that Brody did not approve.
He had taken some pornographic pictures of Jayne and was holding them for blackmail so that if he would say, "Well, if you don't stop your involvement with the Church of Satan, then I can publish these pictures and you'll be found an unfit mother and your children will be taken away from you."
Some reports have suggested that Mansfield was cursed. The Satanists claim the curse was on their enemy, Brody. He died with Mansfield in the crash which killed her.
Within a year, this car accident that is so notoriously the curse on Jayne was in fact a curse on Sam Brody.
The legacy of Jayne Mansfield, which remains today, is this memorial stone in Hollywood. The odd Mansfield imitators like Angeline and Edie Williams. The memories of those who loved her. And the laughs she left us, largely at her own expense.
Oh, my faithful old nurse.
You know, this isn't such a bad part.
Little things mean a lot.
The stone placed in memory of Jayne Mansfield in Hollywood Memorial Park is maintained by members of her fan club. It lies near the graves of Cecil B. DeMille and Tyrone Power.
The prince stayed home in London, but the princess came to New York, and Princess Di is setting the city on its ear, with press and paparazzi in tow from one glitzy event to the next. Who says New Yorkers aren't friendly? A large, friendly crowd came out this morning to greet Princess Diana on the second day of her 3-day visit to the Big Apple. First stop, the Henry Street Settlement, a halfway house for homeless families on the city's Lower East Side. Security, as you might imagine, was tight, but the atmosphere was relaxed and warm. Then it was off to Fifth Avenue uptown for a tour through the ultimate toy store, FAO Schwartz, where the Union Jack and other things British were on display. Also on display was a barrage of paparazzi who follow Her Highness around and make her what one newspaper calls the most publicized woman on earth. The princess was presented with flowers by 8-year-old Lauren Jarvis, who presumably missed school to see Her Highness. But hey, how often does one get to meet royalty? Princess Di's visit to New York City ends tomorrow. The last scheduled big event, a trip to the Harlem Hospital Center's Pediatric AIDS Ward. She'll then depart for home tomorrow afternoon on the Concorde. On our Inside Story tomorrow, Bruce Willis, from Hollywood bad boy to Hollywood stardom.
No one in this town, even the most successful person, even though they are successful, can tell you how to deal with overnight success.
Bruce Willis, our Inside Story tomorrow on Entertainment Tonight.
Coming up next, is television going over the edge? Make up your own mind as we give full exposure to the sex tapes. And later, an inside and personal look at Tom Selleck.
Now, drive the excitement of Pontiac Grand Prix and get a mega value. Get $1,000 cash back direct from Pontiac, or GMAC financing as low as 4.9%. And if you're a qualified first-time buyer, another $600 cash back. That's up to $1,600 cash back or 4.9% GMAC financing. See your local Pontiac dealer for details.
We build excitement.
Whether you prefer the taste of Prego over ziti, or Prego over Rotelli, or Prego over spaghetti, you can plainly see why so many people prefer Prego over ragu. Prego, homemade taste, it's in there.
Dad, is there any way you could send the money today?
To send money fast, come to Western Union. It'll get to any of our 10,000 locations, usually in 15 minutes or less.
Keep in touch.
Western Union, the fastest way to send money.
Major League Baseball, that all-American sport, wasn't always open to all Americans. Then came Jackie Robinson. Jackie didn't set out to be a symbol. He just wanted to play a little baseball and become a physical education instructor. But he was a superb player, the cream of the crop. Baseball's color barrier was broken when he joined the Brooklyn Dodgers in 1945. Hey, I'm Lou Rawls with a page from Black History Notes.
Keep that shower fresh feeling all day with Van and Roll-On Solid and Spray.
It's a wonderful, fascinating apparatus made up of bones and tissue, muscle and nerves. It runs, dances, and leaps. It can withstand a ton of pressure and tiptoe softly, but you have to take care of it. Come to a place with the compassion and technology to help. At the Laser Foot Surgery Center, this gentle beam of light can relieve many foot problems with less pain and without hospitalization. Let us introduce you to the next generation of foot care.
Primetime television is about to have its barriers on sexuality tested as NBC rolls the TV movie Full Exposure, the sex tape scandal, into public view. Vanessa Williams plays a former call girl who's ended up with videotapes of high-priced prostitution. They lead to blackmail and murder.
I want you to help me sell off the tape to the highest bidder.
The subject matter is dark and seedy, but my character, even though she has had arrest as a prostitute, also has some guts, has some courage.
The NBC movie is Williams' biggest since becoming an actress after losing her title as Miss America for posing in the nude.
There are certain things that come up in scripts or roles that are offered that I just say, you know, it's just too close to home, or I don't want to have to deal with that, the repercussions of everything again, and it's not worth it.
The TV movie also stars Lisa Hartman as an assistant district attorney working undercover as a call girl, and Anthony Dennison as a police lieutenant.
What do you think Deborah Lee expects from me tonight? I mean, what am I supposed to do? You read a script and there's the S&M and there's a lot of, you know, women running around and so-called in that sort of different world, and you go, oh, it's a little sexist, or it's a little, but it's real.
Some critics say the sex tapes comes as close to soft porn as network television gets, but Dennison sees it differently.
It's not a question of the show being explicit, it's just a question of the show being as truthful as possible.
Full Exposure, the sex tape scandal, will air Sunday night.
Tomorrow night, NBC is uniting veteran TV crime fighters David Soul of Starsky and Hutch and Kent McCord of Adam 12 in a new police drama. It's called Unsub.
Let's find out how much furniture this guy moved around. Then I want it put back the way it was, and we'll see what we've got, huh?
The show's unusual title refers to an elite government unit which investigates serial killers or unknown subjects. As top members of Unsub, Soul and McCord use the latest high-tech methods to crack crimes that baffle local police agencies.
Technology is only a tool. It's human behavior using that tool that often determines the behavior of both those people who are the hunters and those people who are the hunted.
Removing single fibrous blue hair, apparently fabric thread, more or less.
I think what this show really deals with is a puzzle that is thrown out on a table and scattered about, and we're putting those pieces of the puzzle back together.
McCord also feels that the show may do some good in illustrating the types of problems law enforcement officials are facing today.
This is an area that I think lends well to the screen, as well as it does some good as well as entertain. And that's the best of both worlds, I think.
David Soul says that to limit sensationalizing crime, the series will not show crimes being committed, only the follow-up investigations.
Diane Sawyer has been part of television's highest regarded investigative team for the past 4.5 years. But Sawyer is now leaving 60 Minutes and the CBS network for a new deal with ABC that will team her with Sam Donaldson in prime time.
I'm Diane Sawyer. Those stories and Andy Rooney tonight on 60 Minutes. Mr. Jurgen? I'm Diane Sawyer from 60 Minutes.
For almost any broadcast journalist, 60 Minutes is one of the sweetest plums. Prime time, big ratings, and a chance to trot the globe in search of the big stories. But the heavy travel schedule was apparently one of the major reasons Sawyer was willing to leave the show. Now that she's married Working Girl director Mike Nichols, it's said that Sawyer would like to be closer to their New York home more of the time. The spot on the ABC primetime news show would do just that for a woman who is already one of the most respected and most glamorous women in broadcasting. She's had several big jobs at CBS News, including the anchor slot at CBS Morning News and a post as State Department reporter. A primetime news show would be another feather in her cap. Money is said not to be the key consideration behind Sawyer's move. It's estimated that she was earning $1.3 million a year at CBS and reportedly will be getting $1.5 million from ABC.